Hello, this is Barbara from Vienna, Austria, and as you can see from the title, we will be making some small collages today, and I will also be sharing Maud's new prompt list, which I'm so excited about. Now, these two little notebooks that you see here are personal size or passport size, I believe, traveler's notebook inserts, and I have already made a few collages in one of these. On my own, I didn't film these, so I thought, why not just try to give you some more inspiration by filming myself making some more of these kind of collages. They are small, they are quick, I think they're perfect to practice. I do this myself because it's something I really enjoy doing, and this is the one that I'm going to make the new collages. And by the way, these stickers with these girls are from AliExpress. I will try to find them again and link them for you. I know it's a bit different, the style from my usual style, but when I have notebooks like for planning or writing things down, I usually have that style actually. I just kind of like to mix it up a bit. So this is my drawer with scraps that I will be using partly for my backgrounds today. I have already decluttered this drawer. If you would like to see how I did that, I will link that video below. So the nice thing is now that I only have pieces in there that I love. Every single scrap that is in that drawer I know, and I know I will use, instead of having the drawer cluttered up with a lot of scraps that I will never choose because I have ones that I like more. So what I'm doing here is I am just tearing pieces of similarly colored scraps, and I am gluing them straight into the book. I'm actually, for most of my backgrounds, I don't make a layout first and then glue everything down. I usually just kind of glue them down as I go along. Since the papers are all in the same color scheme, it's no big deal how they are arranged in my eyes. I just try to make them fit on one page. I usually cover the full background. And I like my shapes all to be in various sizes of rectangles. I don't like odd shapes, and I don't like gluing them diagonally. So I guess they have to look neat, if that makes sense. That's just pleasing for me, but you do what you like, obviously. So I have my background finished, and now I have this little ephemera book. I've showed this a few times in the past. I don't have a video on this, unfortunately. It is simply a postage stamp book that I found at the flea market, and I totally recovered it because the cover was totally falling apart and it was a color that I don't enjoy. So I made a new cover. So in here is all my smaller, or most of my smaller ephemera. And what I'm doing here is I'm looking for a focal point. Now on these two pages you can see I have already, I'm going to go back to this. Yeah, I've already made some of these are die cuts that I've just I used on my vintage books. But this owl here, for example, is just a fussy cut of an owl of a vintage book that I found at my Goodwill. So that is going to be my main focal point. And I also wanted to somehow frame its head because I wanted that to stand out more. So I chose this maroon label here that will really make the head stand out nicely. And I didn't want this maroon to be only in one place. So I have these hexagon shapes that were gifted to me, and they have the same kind of maroon in them. So I will use them, and of course I'm going to use in total three, so the tag and the two hexagons, and they form a triangle. Like I always say, that always is pleasing to the eye to have three objects or an odd number. Three always works well. And here is my little vintage cigar box that has a whole bunch of like phrases or just typed words. And this one here says, "Just living is not enough." I had typed that on my computer and printed it on coffee stained paper. And then I just decided to turn that tag around so that my quote will overlap that a little bit. I just thought that just looks more pleasing to the eye. Now I'm going to use my vintage photo to distress the edges of some of these elements just to stand out a little bit more against this background because it is a fairly busy background. And finally, I have now glued everything down, and this is what our first collage looks like. So I'm doing 4 collages in this episode, and you see it really doesn't take long. This took less than 10 minutes. So get your little notebooks out or scrap pieces of paper or whatever and just collage. And now I took out my ephemera book. I have that linked below as well if you want to know how I made this. And now I'm choosing some stickers that I had received in one of the boxes from Your Creative Studio, which I'm linking down as well below. They're a monthly vintage subscription stationery box, which I really enjoy. And I am choosing some stickers that all are again in the same color area. So some of these have reds in them and a lot of these are beige or gray. So again, I'm not planning the whole thing out first. I'm just sticking things down to fit the size of my page until my whole background is full. It's really like playing a puzzle or playing Tetris. How do I place them to cover the whole page? And don't be afraid to cut down any of your pieces, whether it's stickers or other ephemera. Just cut them. If they need to be smaller, just cut them and use the other part in another collage or other project. Now, these butterflies I have had for a few years, and I found these on a free site called Biodiversity Heritage Library. And what you can do there is you can search, for example, to find these, I have searched for butterfly illustrations, and then there's a search field where you can choose no known copyright restrictions. So this way you get a whole bunch of beautiful vintage images, whatever you're looking for, and then you can just print them out and use them in your projects. This is such a great library, like online library for any like animals or plants or anything like that. It's a fantastic resource. Obviously I'm linking that below as well. So now I'm going to choose a word from the Big Chat Tim Holtz Ideology paper stickers, and I'm using imagination, and I'm using, so this pad has both white and black labels, and I'm choosing the black one. So as you see here, these 3 elements again form a triangle, and I wanted these elements to be very dark because you can see the background is quite busy, and in order for them to stand out, there had to be a huge contrast. So these black ones were perfect, and there's our very simple, quick second collage. Moving on to another page. I'm kind of doing like every 3rd page here because I don't know yet what I'm going to use this notebook for, and whatever I write in it, it will be nice to have these creative pages in between. I just really like doing that. These papers are all also from the Your Creative Studio boxes. They were in 2 different months. And again, I am just starting to glue parts down without having the full layout in mind, because these are all very similar and it doesn't really matter in which order you put them on the page. Okay, now after that background is done, I wanted to use some of my floral stickers. These are also from AliExpress, and I will also try to link these below. And all of these actually would have worked. And I wanted to again put something behind it just to give it more interest. And I'm using these posted sticky notes that just give it another nice pop of color. And so I just switched to a different flower that had a smaller head where the post-its would show through better. And again, I'm using the rule of 3. So I wanted to add 3 of these post-its. And I'm going to first glue those down and make sure they are in exactly the spot I want them to be. And this third one, I'm cutting in half, and I'm actually changing the spot to put it on the top left instead. I thought that was a little bit more balanced. And then I'm going to the same sticker pad from Tim Holtz, and this time I'm choosing a white one, and I'm choosing the one that says hopeful because I believe yellow is a color that is associated with hope, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, that's kind of what I remember. So that's what I think of when I see yellow, and I'm not a huge yellow fan, but this mustard yellow I think is beautiful. And finally, I'm cutting out this flower because I don't like the wide border, but that is a personal preference. And after having inked that, I just put that down. So that was collage number 3. And now for the last collage, I am again going to use my paper scraps from book pages and other various vintage sources that I have on hand. And this time I'm actually going to lay it out first before I glue everything down. You just need to stick to similar colors for the background, or stick to light colors and have a good contrast for your focal point. Then nothing can really go wrong with your collage. Just keep practicing, don't give up. I didn't start being able to make these collages when I started out either, so please don't compare your beginning with my middle, because it took me a while to practice as well. So I've mentioned this a few times. I don't believe in talent as much as I believe in passion and hard work. So please don't give up if you would like to have beautiful collages. Now these are birds that I have cut out of another vintage book, and I wanted to use that one, and I wanted to do some stamping in the background. Now these beautiful vintage stamps are from my friend Allison in the US. I will link her Instagram below. Sometimes she sells stamps like this. And also, if she doesn't sell any at the moment, you can also just go on Instagram or even on Etsy and search for vintage stamps. You probably will be able to find something. And what I love most is any stamps with numbers on them. Obviously, if you don't have stamps like this, you just use your clear stamps, whatever you want. If you have numbers, great. If you have other letters or symbols that you enjoy, then just use those. Use what you have. Don't go and buy new stuff just because you see me doing this now. Now these are the ones I wanted to use. These are my favorite ones. They are 3 random numbers. And I'm using my Memento Ladybug red ink because I just adore numbers in red ink for some reason. And I'm going to place these around the edge of the bird, 3 of these. And of course this is easier to do when you have clear stamps because you actually see where you're stamping. Kind of hard with these, but it did work out. And after seeing what this looks like with 3 stamps, I realized that the red in the eye is for me like another red focal point, making it an even number, which is why I had the feeling this collage was not balanced. So what I did was I found a little cutout that said, I think, joyful, And since I wanted it to have a little border around it, I took this label, which is actually from Nick the Booksmith, her labels, but I believe you can only get these if you take one of her journal classes. So she does have other labels on Etsy, which are also fabulous, but this particular one, you have to take one of her courses. So I cut the joyful down to fit into that little frame, and I'm just gluing that there. And now for me that is balanced. It has 5 red elements, including the red eye, and like this it works out fine. So going back to the ones that I had previously done on camera, I'm briefly going to show you these 4 again, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Because I scanned these and I enlarged them a little bit. As you can see, they're a bit larger. And these are now perfect journaling cards. Of course, you don't have to enlarge them. You could even make them smaller and they would be cute as well. But I like the size, kind of similar to a postcard size. And then I cut them out. And so now I have 4 beautiful journaling cards. And I can just embellish them further if I want to, or I can just use them as they are. And I wanted to choose one for my first journaling card, and I choose this last yellow one. And I'm using Maud's new prompt list. So thank you so much, Maud, for creating a new prompt list for us. I had asked Maud to do this because so many of you were asking me for new prompts, and Maud was kind enough to make this list, and it is a huge list. It has 82 prompts, and Maud has a fabulous video about how to use these, how flexible you can use these, and how you can even store them in your book. So I have not done anything with these lists except print them on coffee dyed paper, so I have yet to try to find a way to put them in the book. I think I will use one of the methods that she has in her video. Her video is obviously linked below, and you have to go check it out. It is absolutely fabulous. So yeah, this is the card I chose. I inked around the front and the back, and I chose to use the prompt number 75, which says, what was the best decision ever? And since the font of this prompt is quite small, I decided to use my clickable alphabet stamps linked below. You can also probably get them at Michael's if you're in the US. They are from Recollections. And I stamped 3 words, and I wanted to cover up this "so sweet" because that didn't work for my prompt. So I'm just covering it up and gonna glue those over the card. And now I'm going to write. And it's easiest if I just read you what I wrote. So I said, my best decision ever by far was to quit my 9-to-5 job and pursue my passion of creating and making videos to share this passion and to inspire others to find and explore their own creativity further. It was a bit of a leap of faith, and I felt a path was already waiting for me to discover. So that's my journaling card, and now I need to find a page in my no-sew journal to make a home for this card. And so I'm looking at various options. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time making something for this page, so I was looking for something that was already kind of made. So I used this flip up, and I just glued that left part down to form a pocket. Then I cut off a part of one of these other journaling cards that said "Discover Yourself," which I thought worked extremely well with this journaling card, and stuck the card in, and that's it. That is today's page. Very simple, very, very fun to do. So please give it a try. Go check out Maud's prompts and see how she uses them or suggests what you can do with them. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!